Okay, we're about ready to start. First, I'd like to thank all Afori Ansa. H. Bigman Associates is the name of our organization. H. Bigman Associates is a group of primarily African preservers and presenters of African cultural arts. Based in Philadelphia, we do exhibitions and travel national. We've had 100,000 people see our exhibitions in over 3 years, starting in Philadelphia at the Cecil Moore Library in the North Central Philadelphia. Going from there to Main Branch Library, and then to 5 other cities, basically. New York 3 times now. We have a new exhibition we just announced in New York last weekend. We've done 3 exhibitions in New York, Baltimore, Savannah, Atlanta, and we have our major exhibition called Majesty of African Women. That is, the exhibition is touring nationally at this point. We use African scholarship, and we recently had an event in conjunction with October Gallery, in which Dr. Ansa and a series of other African scholars and appraisers presented, discussing traditional African sculpture and the African interpretation of the use, symbolism, and considerations around investing in African art, praising African art, and presenting African art from an African perspective. What I will do now is introduce you to Dr. Ansa. He's going to start off with a PowerPoint presentation. Dr. Afori Ansa is a friend and scholar. He has, we have been so blessed with other people from who are learning from our community to step forward and provide support for us to be able to bring to communities nationally information with great authority on our cultural traditions from an African perspective. And I know that is because if you ever want to win some money from somebody, what you can do, bet them, you can make a bet on how many books they'll find in any library written by any African on African art. You can go to libraries where there's 1,500 books on African art, and won't find 5 written by Africans. Not to say that Africans haven't written any, but they're not going to be on the shelves. And there's few of them that even, there's so few that even exist. In fact, on the table over there's the first book that I'm aware of, that we're aware of, collectively, that's been written by an African American, or an African American art. Many books are written on African American art. I'm talking about African art. And this is a self-published book by a guy named Dan Parker. Okay? So it is quite a treat for us to have Dr. Ansa here. He is a professor at Howard University. He is an appraiser. He is Ghanaian born. And he is also an expert on the culture of the Akana, being an Akana scholar. I bring to you my friend and inspiration, Dr. Afori Ansa.
I bring you greetings. Good evening.
Good evening.
Before we do anything, I'd like us to perform our libation. So,
One second.
okay, what can I do? Piece of artwork here was made out of wood. It was made out of wood, and other materials that are natural materials, whether it's metal, feather. Now, and before the wood, I was standing.
Standing?
Yeah. I can't do it at all. Before the wood is cut down, and when we talk about this later on, the ancestors have recognized that any piece of wood is part of the cosmos or the universe and has an essence, a spirit, that makes the entire cosmos become balanced. So if you cut a wood or a tree to use for carving, you have to perform some kind of ritual. A ritual that would recreate the imbalance that occurs when you cut down a tree, because the tree has a spirit. And so they perform a ritual like libation to pacify the spirit of the tree before they cut it down. And that is why we call it a libation. And since we're going to talk about these words which were created by our ancestors, we usually have to give recognition to the point. We have to give recognition to the ancestors who created these words. And the African way of giving recognition to the Creator and the ancestors is by pouring libation. And different people do it in different ways. Among the Akan people of Ghana, they use either water or liquor or anything that they drink. In other parts of Africa, they can use milk or tea or whatever they drink. But the essence is to recognize the Supreme Being, Mother Earth, and the spirits of the ancestors. So that's what we're going to do, to ask the permission of the ancestors who created these things before even we talk about it. Under normal circumstances, we will have to remove our shoes, and so I'm going to do one of them to show respect for the ancestors. We know the ancestors speak all languages, so I'm going to speak in English, and I know they'll understand English because we have some ancestors who are also English speaking. Oh, the Supreme God, the Creator of everything, we show you drink, but we cannot give you drink because we created drink and everything on earth. Bless this occasion. Come with your spirit because we created all of us and you gave us brains and wisdom and the mind to be able to create all these things. We recognize your power. Oh, Mother Earth, from whom everything came, we call your spirit to be here with us. Drink, we recognize you. Without you, we don't have food, we don't have water, and we can't survive. You are the mother of the universe. We recognize you. We call upon you to be here. All the spirits of our ancestors who went before us, who laid the foundation for us, created all these wonderful pieces of artwork. It is your ingenuity, your creativity that have made it possible for us to see these works, enjoy them, and use them to learn about the past, the present, and the future. Here, drink, come and drink and share with us. Experience with ancestors long ago, and those who came across the Atlantic Ocean, those who were able to come, and those who were not able to come, will remember you. Those who came and struggled and laid the foundation for us, who fought for our liberties, who fought for our freedoms, who fought for our civil rights, and who fought to make it possible to share our knowledge with the rest of the world. Here, break. Come and share with us. Be part of this occasion. We need blessings. We need prosperity. We need prosperity and productivity in all ways, both physically and spiritually. We need fertility, both spiritually and materially. Here, drink, come with us. And you all know all your ancestors. Think about your ancestors as we call them. I will call my late mother, my ancestors, Ansa, Kwame, Nana, Ansa, Amedi, Oyakube. Mamuni Campo, Nayakabo, Manias Campo, Tiwaya, Papa, Omanchi, Munum, Yenum. I ate quite, and shall bear the past. To build the nation, to expand the knowledge, so that the next generation will come and learn about the good things that we did and learn for us. Here, drink. Now that opens the door for us to be able to talk about the creativity, the products of the creativity of our ancestors. Okay? Now, it's mine. Now, you can take this. Okay. I'm pleased to be here to share with you some very important information or knowledge about certain aspects of African art. The focus today, this evening, is on the symbolism of animals in African art. And I'm really very pleased and grateful to Brother Bigham for inviting me, not only to invite me to share my knowledge, but also to actually commit himself to the preservation and presentation of African art, his heritage, and a heritage that has become universal. Because if you come to think of it, we all came from Africa. So we all share in that heritage. Now, he has chosen to focus on the symbolism of animals. Very important that we emphasize that. Very often, when we talk about African art, we think of it only in terms of the form and the style and the ethnic group that we get, but there's something more to it. Now, we know that we human beings are the newcomers on this planet. We are the latecomers. Animals have been here millions of years before we arrived. So they know everything about this planet, more about this planet than we do. And that lies at the center of the wisdom of our ancestors. somewhere. It lies in the center of the wisdom of our ancestors, who recognized that animals have been here millions of years ago, and it is because they were here that we were able to survive. And some of the artworks that we will see as we go around will give us testimony about that. There are some groups of people whose survival depended on animals. And so they have used animal images as symbol of their survival. And for the Africans, animals are not just appendages. They are part of us. They are integral part of us. They are part of our cosmological coherence. They are elements that make our lives complete. So without animals, we can't survive. And that is why Africans, from time immemorial, as we will see in this PowerPoint presentation, have been using images of animals as a reference point to say that they are in spiritual communion with these animals. An aspect of the African cosmology or traditional religious philosophy is that nature is supposed, we're not supposed to control nature, but rather to live in harmony with it. Not to destroy and control it, but rather to live in harmony with it. So, in that context, Africans have lived in harmony with animals since time immemorial. In fact, one of the commandments of ancient Egypt, the ancient Nile Valley civilization, was that we should confess. They had 42 of these confessions before you go into the next world. You should confess that you did not destroy animals for the sake of destroying. In fact, it's one of the commandments, what we would call 10 commandments. Today they had 42 of them, and one of them was about animals, the way we treated animals. So animals have been very, very important aspect of our lives since time immemorial, and our ancestors knew this, and so they incorporated animals into their thinking, their philosophy. When you look at African art, you will see several aspects in which animal images are used. You will see animals by themselves. You will see animals interacting with animals. And then you will see animals interacting with human beings. And in all these, it is an expression of the important role that the essence, the spirit of animals play in the life. They relate to us, they relate to each other, and our elders have observed all these interactions between humans and animals, interaction between animals and animals, and used them to express certain ideas that relate to our own spiritual and social values. And we will talk about some of them later on. So you will see a bird that has turned its head towards a tail, and they use it to indicate the concept of going back to the past, to search from the past in order to build the present and the future. It is because that bird always goes back, turns its head towards the tail to search, to groom itself, But our elders have indicated that, have watched and observed that, and used that to mean that before you can build the future, you have to know what the past is. So it is in the case of other animals that play very important roles in the lives of Africans, traditional African societies. So as we go around, I'll point certain animals or certain images to you, and we will talk about the essence of and the symbolic meanings of those animals and how they are used within a particular society. But before we go around or see, let's take us back to time immemorial. Some 20,000 years ago, our African ancestors who lived in the caves were using all kinds of techniques, such as engraving and painting, to paint on the walls of their caves where they lived. And this one of them, which is a highly stylized image of an antelope. Now this was done in the caves long before the dynastic or pre-dynastic period, long before humans organized themselves into units of political structures. In other words, these were people who were living in caves, but they recognized the importance of animals and therefore depicted them in their drawings and paintings and engravings on the walls. And as time went on, many other types of images were created, and I'm just using these to illustrate, so we go through very fast. Here is a head rest, it's almost like a pillow for certain groups of people in Central Africa and East Africa. But you can see how the animal image is been highly stylized here, because the spirit of that animal is very important in the lives of such people. So to rest your head, you create an image in the form of an animal, saying that your comfort and your rest, peaceful rest, depends upon an animal. Among the Benin people in Nigeria, they use the leopard as a symbol of royal power. Now, this is an ancient Nubian temple. They use the baboon or the monkey to represent wisdom and knowledge and mathematics. It's interesting that among the Senegal people, that same animal is also used to symbolize the concept of wisdom. And we will see an example of that here very soon. Another headrest, and you can see the animal images. Besides the aesthetics, the highly stylized, abstracted imagery of these forms, which is another topic altogether, we can also see that certain particular types of animals are used. This head is a hooded mask of Anubis. Anubis was an ancient god of you know, the after here, when you go into the next world, there's a deity that, you know, is supposed to stand in your way for judgment. And that deity is called Anubis, and the head of the jackal is used to represent. And you also have carved granite depicting crocodile. We'll talk about the crocodile imagery. And as you can see here, lions and ram put together the kind of wall decoration in ancient Kemet and Nubia. So animals have been used in varieties of forms throughout the history of Africans, whether it is painted on plaques like ceramics ware like this, or whether it's carved or on the walls, or whether it is carved in stone, from stone on this one from ancient Kemet, or made out of clay like this in Nubia. We can see that all these art forms have animal images. And whether it's a horse, 11th century to 15th century AD, horse rider, as we will see some examples very soon. Or whether it's parts like this that depict the corporate of the hand, or others that depict the snakes. As you can see, this one, the snake images of Yoruba people of Ife, the people of Nigeria. So in effect, we have, can put it back for you. Oh, no, whatever. In effect, we have many examples of these kinds of use of animal images, but it doesn't end there. We have a situation where animal images are also used to create other forms of art that symbolize, that are used for royal purposes. For example, these linguist staff, the top of linguist staffs. And we'll see some examples of staffs here very soon. I would like to show you what I mean by the linguist staff. Among the account people, when the chiefs meet and sit in state, each chief has a linguist, a spokesperson, and the spokesperson has to have this staff to symbolize his authority to talk on behalf of the chief or the king or the queen mother. And each of their staff has a top that symbolizes, that depicts certain animals, like this sample of bear here, or the rooster and the hen, and all of them do have meanings and represent certain problems. So it is not only in the creation of objects that are used for spiritual purposes, where animals feature, but objects that are used to represent royalty also depict animals in a variety of forms. As you can see, all these are different types of animals can be an animal. This one says some town is sitting on another town. Shows the power of other people. So animals have, the elephant, we'll see some examples of the elephant very soon. I'll talk about the symbolism of elephants, woman, that you will see later on. Not only four-legged animals are used in this context. You can see all types of animals such as snails and tortoises are used in a variety of forms and to depict certain symbols, certain social values and social concepts, some spiritual, some just ethical. Now, if you go to those symbols, you realize that each of them has a problem. It's based upon a problem. For example, this says, the rooster knows the secret of the beginning and end of the day, yet it pays heed to what the mother says. Now, they use this to sort of give an indication of the important role that everybody plays in society. The rooster is the bird that would crow in the morning, early in the morning, to announce the beginning of the day, which means it understands the secret of the day. As we said, these animals have been here millions of years, so they know this planet more than we do. So they know when the sun is coming up, they crow. Now, the hen, which is the mother of the rooster, does not know that or does not do that. But the elders say, even though the rooster, which is a male bird, can do that, it still respects the female part or the female essence or the mother. It pays heed to what the mother says. It does not boast, says, I know all the secret of the day and night, so I'm not going to listen to you. There are other animals or ways in which they use other animals as well. And because of time factor, I'm not going to go through all of it, but some expressions of humans and animals, as I said. Some are animals and animals. Some also come in the form of, let me show you this one example, the form of graphic symbols. For example, this image says, Funtumreku, Dentemreku. These are two crocodiles with a common stomach. But when they eat differently, even though it goes into the same stomach. So they use that to indicate the importance of unity in diversity. That means we may be different, we may be doing things differently, but we should not forget that we have a common stomach, a common destiny. And this is the proverbial Sankofa bear. You can see it being rendered in other forms like stools. This represents the horns of the ram's horns, and stylized or put in graphical, basic graphic, two-dimensional forms. But you will see examples of a three-dimensional form in the collection that we are going to see. So all in all, we realize that different types of Like different types of approaches are used to express different ideas, different concepts by using images of animals. And that's what this exhibition is about. And we'll see some examples of real three-dimensional images that express certain social values, spiritual ideas, philosophies, historical events within different ethnic groups in traditional African societies. But like I said, we saw some examples of such images from time immemorial, from the prehistoric period, the Stone Age period, through the dynastic period in ancient Egypt and Nubia, through traditional societies and kingdoms in West Africa and East Africa and Central Africa and South Africa. But we also saw that some of these images are rendered in two-dimensional forms, in graphical forms. The essence is the same. Animals have certain attributes that make them special. Special part of our existence and our survival. There are some societies who say, for example, the Bamana people of Mali, when they came into being, according to the myth of creation, where they were placed on this planet, their survival depended on an antelope. It was an antelope who, quote unquote, taught them how to farm. The explanation, the practical explanation was that when they moved to where they are now, they did not know where the land was fertile enough to start farming. But they saw some antelopes grazing, eating. So they observed them and they said, well, if these antelopes can survive here, we can survive here too. So they started, they settled there. They started tilling the land to farm and plant. And since that time, they used the image of the antelope. And some of them you will see here, which we call Chihuahua, as a symbol of agricultural fertility, of the land fertility. So, and before any planting season, they will have a ceremony where a female antelope head rest and male antelope head rest will be worn, incidentally by men, and amidst drumming, dancing, singing, they will have a procession through the town to announce the beginning of the planting season. In other words, they are recognizing the role that antelope played in their survival. So that agricultural ceremony is marked, is symbolized by the Chihuahua antelope headpiece. And it comes with female and male. Here, symbolism is that the female essence of life and the male essence of life have to complement each other in order that agricultural fertility would be possible. So it's a spiritual fertility as well as material fertility, crop fertility. In another situation, you have another group of people who were trying to cross a river as a result of being chased by their enemies during a war. So when they got to the river, they didn't know how to cross the river. It was a large river, and the enemies were coming. Now, this has a biblical, similarities or reference, as we all know. But these people stopped at the riverside. Some wanted to cross, and they were going to get drowned. So they told them to come back. Samachi. Then they named the place Samachi or Selchi. If you go to Ghana today, you'll find that place called Selchi. Now, but at the point that the enemies were coming, they saw some bush pigs crossing the river. So they said, wow, if these bush pigs could cross the river, it looks as if that place is shallow enough for us to be able to cross. So let's go. So they followed the bush pigs. And lo and behold, they were able to cross the river to the other side before the enemies came. And when the enemies came and got to the point, they wondered, how are these people able to cross this river which is now flooded? So since that time, those people use the bush pig as symbol of their survival. And so they vowed never to eat the bush pig. And so that has become their totem. And no member of the royal family in that society would eat pork or a bush pig. So we have so many situations like that in traditional African societies where animals save people, and therefore their image, having appropriated to represent certain spiritual values and certain aspect of the spiritual and physical survival. So they use those images as masks, as statues, on shrines. Sometimes placed on shrines, sometimes they carry them, sometimes they wear them, sometimes they carry them on their head, sometimes they appear in household objects such as stools and chairs and so on and so forth. In all these, we realize that the African does not think of himself or herself as over and above that animal, but rather as part and parcel of the animal. So if you see a woman sitting on a leopard like that, it is not an indication of the woman having conquered the leopard, but rather the leopard supporting the woman, and an indication of a spiritual relationship between the spirit of the leopard and the spirit of womanhood. You will see another that shows an image of the head of an elephant and the female image with breast and now head of an elephant, a female image. Fertility, breast, the head of an elephant, power, and also the ability to lead. There is a proverb, you might have seen it on here, which says that if you follow the elephant in the bush, you never get wet. In other words, once the elephant goes through the bush, then you follow it. Because it's large enough and big enough, it creates a path for other people to follow. So when you see the head of an elephant on top of a woman with a breast, they're using to express the concept fertility, breast, elephant, cow. And many of such situations can be found in all pieces. So at this point, we will go to some of the pieces, go around and go to some of the pieces, and then we will use them as a means of explaining the spiritual and cosmological significance of these animals in the life of the people. Let me do that. Yes.
Okay, we can have around, he's going to walk through the.
We'll start from here. Yes, the antelope is the animal that saved the monarchy by showing them the fertile part of the land where they were able to work and survive, farm and survive. So they created female chihuahua and male chihuahua. And the dancers would wear them on their head like that, just like a cap. And the drummers, the drum singers, the women would sing, follow them out of procession through town. The female one has two types, the horizontal one like that and then the vertical one. But usually it will show a baby on the back of the female one. The vertical one will have the baby on the back. And the male one will have horns that are curved and mane like a horse mane. Now, they combine various types of animals. For example, here you can, I don't know whether this would suggest to you, what animal would this suggest to you?
That was a snake.
Now, you snake or what? Remember the animal that can change its skin?
Oh, chameleon?
Chameleon.
So they combine animals of certain, images of certain reptiles, such as snake, such as the chameleon, with that of the antelope. Because, like I said earlier on, sometimes they show 2 or 3 animals together, what we call zoomorphic images. Sometimes they combine human and animals, what we call anthropozoomorphic images. That is combination of animal and human. Now, besides the cosmological significance, the spiritual significance of this, we can also see the aesthetics of it, the artistic aspect of it. Just imagine the technical dexterity that went into carving these images without using any rulers to measure them, without using any models to look at, and using only basic tools such as the axe and knives. No power tools, but carve these objects in a way, in a very dramatic, dynamic form, like actually the animal is moving. So there is art in African art, and there is also spirit in African art. But the two come together. For the African, the two are not, isolated. The spiritual or the sacred and the secular complement each other. So the form and the style complement the function. And that is why we see in African art form determines function, and function determines form. The nature, the form of the work has something to do with its significance, its function. Now, let's take, I think this is another one that we can, this is a Yoruba container that shows an image of a snake and a rabbit, and then the crocodile or the lizard, and the tortoise, and other animals, but with a human being also, and a bird here. So varieties of combinations, human, animal, so on. The most important thing is that all of them, individually, have something to say, have spiritual significance, and then collectively, if a Yoruba divination or Babalawo would be here, he will be able to read to you what exactly all these means in terms of the cosmology and the spiritual aspect of the Yoruba religion. Now, but